Hi, I'm Bill Couchman, and this is my grace story. Hi, my name is Bill. I am married to my gorgeous wife of almost 37 years this September, Mary Ann. We have 4 children, 2 that are living here on the earth with us and 2 that are with Jesus in heaven. Both my wife and I were born and raised in California, and we moved here about 26 years ago. Okay, it's kind of interesting. When Colton had reached out to me and asked me to share my story, right away it was a natural reaction, no way. I am not going to do this, especially when he said it was going to be on video and shown in front of the whole church. And I started praying about it. He answered me. He said, "It's your pride." And he said, "Bill, you need to humble yourself." And finally I said, "Yes, Lord, I will obey and I will do this." So one of the reasons why it's hard to share, growing up, I had many trials. I didn't know God. I knew of God, but that was all. I just knew of him, but I did not know a personal relationship with him, didn't know about Jesus, didn't grow up in a Christian home. Grew up in California out on 38 acres of orange orchard in the country. So going to school, it was always a school bus. So we were so far out in the country, I was the last one off the bus. And during that time, there was some other buddies I had, we'd be back the bus and doing horseplay, fooling around. So by the time everybody else off the bus and we're heading out, the bus driver told me to come to the front. He basically said I was very bad. I was a very bad boy. And I didn't understand what he was talking about. And he said that fooling around in horseplay, you are hurting yourself down in your privates. And so he made me sit on the front seat and made me expose myself to him. And just did some hurtful things and told me that I'm very bad. If I told anybody, that would even get me in more trouble. And so I had to keep that into myself. So this went on for some time. Going through that sexual abuse as a 5-year-old, I didn't tell my parents about it, and I kept this in for some time. I always thought I had a great life growing up, a great childhood with my brothers. My dad was there as I was growing up. He was Cub Scout master. We were Cub Scouts. He was a baseball coach, and I kind of looked up to him. Unfortunately, he started drinking, and alcohol got out of control for him. I can remember specifically one story, my 13th birthday. Growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, so whenever we went out to dinner, it was very special, a big deal, and we didn't do it often. My father said, "For your 13th birthday, it's very special. After work, I'm gonna come pick you up and we're gonna go get pizza, just you and I, celebrate your birthday." So probably about 5:30, I was anxious, so I sat outside on the picnic table out in our country home, waiting for him. And time went on, and he didn't show up. And finally started to get dark, and I kind of had a feeling I knew what was going on, and my mom said, "Billy, come on." "Billy, come on in, your dad's not coming home." He had rather been staying in a bar and getting drunk instead of taking me out for my 13th birthday. So that was the beginning. He just continued to get worse. It just got to a point in my life that, you're supposed to look up to your dad and you're supposed to want to be like him. And that wasn't for me. I didn't want to be anything like him. So I had this hurt of the abuse that went on with the bus driver. Now with my dad, I was angry and upset with him letting me down on my special birthday that he promised. And I told myself that, I'm not gonna let this affect me. I'm gonna be self-sufficient, and I'm gonna go out in life and I'm gonna make something of myself. In high school, football was my thing, and I said I'm gonna lift myself up through football. So I really excelled in football. That's what I clung to. That was my hope at that time. I decided to go to college. There was no money from my parents, so basically I had to buy my own books and my own tuition. And I was working part-time at a warehouse. The owner saw something in me, and he said, Bill, he goes, looks like you're kind of a natural leader. I'd like for you to come on, full-time as a supervisor. So going back and trying to rely on myself and saying, yeah, I can do this. And so I dropped out of college after almost 2 years. I had in my mind, I'm gonna make something of myself. I'm not gonna let these hurts in my life keep me down and keep me back. The owner, he really took me under his wing. He became my mentor, and he was a Christian man. So at this point, I got engaged with Mary Ann. I still was not a Christian. The owner, Mike, he talked to me about Jesus, was sharing with me, asked me to start Bible study with him at his house. Ended up getting saved. Got baptized actually by Mike, the owner of the company, and they became really good Christian friends of both Mary Ann and I. Mary Ann got baptized shortly after I did, and with her growing up in a Catholic background and being Catholic all her life, that was very difficult for her to see the gospel and have it explained to her and accept it, but she did. And we became very good, close friends with Mike and his wife, Lisa. So I still have this inner drive, like, Bill, you got to make something yourself, and you got to climb that corporate ladder. I still had that desire inside of me, and I still was very young as a Christian, and I still didn't grasp what it really meant to love Jesus fully and to live fully for him. So I still lived for myself. I eventually became vice president of that company, and eventually another company, Fortune 500 company, saw what I was doing in the industry, and they asked me if I'd come work for them. That ended up our move from California to Ohio, and I ended up being the global director of supply chain for this company. And my responsibilities were all of the United States, all of Canada, all Latin America, and Europe in 5 countries. So I was flying around the country, flying around on corporate jets, going to the most prestigious golf courses in the United States, played them all, going to the Super Bowl. Man, I thought I was living life great. Saying, look at me, I did it. I pulled myself up out of what went through in my childhood, and look at me now, I'm really something. As life went on, I realized I was empty, even with all this wonderful stuff, and nice home, and beautiful family. God really blessed me, but I knew something was missing. I wasn't fully in. I wasn't kind of 1 foot in over here, 1 foot out over here, because I was living for myself and not living for the Lord and for Jesus. I mentioned we have 2 children in heaven. So our first one, Brent, was born first. We were always going to have 2 kids, and so we had Brent with no problem. 3 years later, pregnant, and went all the way through full pregnancy up to probably the last week before her birth, and the baby quit moving. So eventually we got hold of the doctor. He said, go on into the emergency and have it checked out. And the nurse did the ultrasound, said, I'm calling your doctor in. Doctor got there, did the ultrasound, looked at it, and said the most horrible words you can hear. Said, sorry, your baby has died. 3 years later, I got pregnant again, and Mary Ann started having complications during the pregnancy. She went into labor early. The doctor that we had, she had basically, after she ran some tests, said, your baby is got multiple problems and it's not going to live, and I suggest you abort right away. And we said, well, that's not for us. God does not want us to abort this child, and we're going to go through full term with it if it's God's will. But after many other complications, they said, don't expect him to live when he comes out of the canal, because he's so premature. He came out and he was wailing, just crying, and we were, wow. The doctors were surprised. After a while, the doctor came back in and said, yeah, your baby did come out. He is alive, but it's what they call a honeymoon period. He's not expected to live, but the problem is his lungs right now. And the respirator we have him on it's turned up to the highest, and we feel if we keep him on there more than a day, it's going to burst his lungs, and it's going to be very painful for him. So they said, we need you to make another tough decision. We need you to pull the respirator off and let him go peacefully. So we prayed about it, and that's what we ended up doing. And he gave us 24 hours of life with him, and laying there as we were just loving him, hugging, kissing on him, sending up prayers. And I remember he held on to Mary Ann's cross on her necklace. His hands, we got a picture of that, a sweet picture of him doing that. So tell that story because those were trials. But one of my favorite Bible verses I wanted to share with everybody is out of James 1:2. It's a very simple verse. James, the brother of Jesus, had wrote, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds." That verse has really hit me as I faced many trials, many kinds. And you need to have the right attitude to say, "Yes, Lord, I accept these trials because I believe in you. I have faith in you." And that's what has brought me out. Even during that time, we had friends saying, "How can you trust a God? How can you love a God that takes your children like that?" Basically, the answer was, if it wasn't for God, we wouldn't be able to mentally get through this. Physically wouldn't be able to get through this. Probably our marriage wouldn't get through it. God did bring us through it. We tried again, and we ended up giving birth to a healthy boy. That's Luke. And Luke is now a pastor of head of the college ministry in Mississippi. If it wasn't for the trials and for the sacrifice of Tara and Dominic, Luke wouldn't have been born, and we wouldn't have him. So God does work in wonderful ways, and we couldn't think of life without Luke. So we're going along life. I'm jetting around the world, climbing the corporate ladder, but still empty. A lot of guilt, a lot of shame from what happened in my life, and a lot of unforgiveness. I felt stuck, and being stuck, I realized that I can't do it on my own. Living this life looks good on the outside, but inside I'm hurting and empty because I haven't fully gave my whole life to Jesus. Prayed for God's wisdom, and he told me, he said, "Bill, you're right, you can't do it on your own. You need help. You need to seek help." That was very hard for me because I'm very prideful. So I did seek help, Christian help, counseling. Through a lot of prayers, I was able to open up and share. Haven't shared with anybody other than Mary Ann about the bus driver. Finally was able to share with my boys. But other than that, I haven't shared this story with anyone outside of my immediate family. And the Christian counselor really helped me get to the root of the problem, and that was unforgiveness. I haven't been able to forgive the bus driver for what he did, forgive my dad for what he did. Also, I had some other unforgiveness. So Mike, who brought me to the Lord, shared the gospel with me, he committed suicide. And that really hurt me and hurt my little bit of faith, where I was halfway in, halfway out, thinking, well, how can a Christian man do that? So I had that also as a hurt, and I couldn't forgive him for him taking his life and not talking to me. So talking through that, the Christian counselor made me realize that, Bill, you're forgiven. Jesus has forgiven your sins, and he's took all your sins upon him at that cross, and you're fully forgiven. You need to forgive those that have hurt you. And I did. I forgive that bus driver. Lord, have mercy on him, but I forgive him. I don't know where he's at in his life now, but I pray that he knows you, God, and then know that he's forgiven. That Jesus, you forgave him, but also I need to do it for myself, and I forgive him. Dad, a lot of hurt. You hurt Mom bad. You divorced her. You were with other women. Dad, I forgive you. And I love you. And Mike, I forgave him too. Let it go. After I let it go and forgave them, what a weight lifted off my shoulders. I mean, just a tremendous weight. And I just felt Jesus pour into me. And at that point, I realized that everything I had done in my life before that, I felt it was because of me. I was self-sufficient. It was all me. It was very inward me, and it wasn't me. Looking back now that I'm fully in with Jesus, all the corporate jets, Super Bowls, living that whole life, I'd give it all up in a second for one day with Jesus. I'd rather be with Jesus than have all that other stuff it's not real. And I would just say to anybody in life that Jesus is real, and that's where your heart needs to be and your mind needs to be. Even though and we still go through trials and struggles in life, even today, and that's going to continue. But as long as I got Jesus, that's what matters, you know. And He's going to get us through it. He's proven it time over time. Just blessed me with now a beautiful family, beautiful wife, and wonderful church, just wonderful Christian friends.